thank you so much for your patience again. But we're ready to make the announcement, and the Minister for Health, Honorable Moses Jabasis, will begin.
Good morning or good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the press. I'm very happy this morning to announce that the Cabinet of Ministers has agreed to appoint Mr. Ben Emmanuel to be the chairperson of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex Board. The other members of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex Board, as proposed by Cabinet, are Dr. Alicia Eugene Ford, who will serve as the Deputy Chairperson of the Board, Mr. Wen Gabriel, former Chief Environmental Health Officer, Mr. Perry Thomas, Dr. Kedma Daw, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, Ms. Jenny Daniel, a representative of a union representing the interests of the employees of the medical complex, and also a representative of a recognized consumer association. Both organizations have been written to, and by today or this week, we should have confirmation of their representative. The Director of Clinical Services will also serve on the board of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex, and also the Chief Executive Officer of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex, who is Dr. Damian Greaves. I welcome Mr. Ben Emmanuel, a gentleman of immense experience in the public service, and recently the Cabinet Secretary. I also say to you that the Cabinet has full confidence in the abilities of Mr. Ben Emmanuel to chart the course of the future of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex. We look forward to working with him and his new board, and we also look forward to better things to come for the Millennium Heights Medical Complex and the health sector in St. Lucia as a whole. I wish also to announce that the government of St. Lucia will activate Part 4 of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex Act, and Part 4 of the Millennium Heights Complex Act reads, it's titled Inspection of the Medical Complex and the Medical Complex Premises. And I wish to read section 49, and it reads, subject to subsection 5 and notwithstanding the provisions of any other law, the minister may appoint a suitably qualified person as inspector of the medical complex on such terms and conditions as the cabinet determines. So the government will activate Part 4, and an inspector will be appointed after deliberations by the cabinet. This person, after deliberations by the cabinet, this person's name will be made public, and it will be published in the Gazette as is required by the law. I wish to thank you, and at this time, I wish to invite the Deputy Prime Minister to also make an announcement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister of Health, and of course, let me join the Minister in welcoming the appointment of Mr. Ben Emmanuel as the chairman of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex Board. I think after Prime Minister, it's the second most difficult job in St. Lucia. So when he thought he was having a quiet retirement, we did have to call him out to continue public service. And it's not an easy task that we've been given. St. Lucians certainly have been clamoring over the years for improved healthcare services. And central to that is, in fact, the Millennium Heights Medical Complex. And we're all confident that he will bring his tremendous experience in management, in public sector administration, and address some of the issues that we do have here. Some of you know that the original design of the Millennium, of the OKEU hospital, included having 5 fingers, and of course, what we call the palm and 5 fingers. A decision was taken a few years ago to remove one of the figures to control costs. and to ensure that the overall project cost was within certain limits. So we've always had as an intention as a country that sometime in the future we would add the missing finger, as it can be said. Of course, at the end of the construction and the commissioning, you would have recognized that the new hospital actually had less beds than the old Victoria Hospital. And that has put tremendous strain on the hospital and the management of the hospital services. And this government has taken a decision that we need to complete the hospital as originally designed, and therefore the fifth finger has to be built. We also took a decision as a government that we would use the funds of the Citizenship by Investment Program to assist us in achieving that objective. As a first step, we reach out to some of our stakeholders within the CIP network and indicated that we had intended to, construct the fifth finger, and together with the government plans to see who would be able to assist us, as we set about fulfilling that objective. One of our stakeholders, a developer under the CIP program, the Galaxy Real Estate, has indicated that they will partner the government as a corporate social responsibility action to assist us in achieving that objective. And they've made available to the government $400,000 US as a first contribution to allow the board of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex to be able to commence the process. As you can imagine, we would have had designs for all the fingers, so there should be some preliminary designs there, but it would have to be reviewed, it would have to be updated in terms of the costings, because since then, the price of construction materials and other services would have changed, and as Mr. Emmanuel takes over, they will commence the process for the construction of the fifth finger. It is not going to start construction immediately. They have to go through the process and ensure it. But at least they will have a first contribution of $400,000 US made available by Galaxy Real Estate. And once they've completed the costings and everything else, there will be a final determination of the contribution that will be made by Galaxy and other stakeholders, and of course, the government of St. Lucia under the Citizenship by Investment Program. So I'm really pleased today as a minister responsible for the Citizenship by Investment Program, to hand over to the new chairman of the board $400,000 US so they can commence the process. And we hope they will accelerate the process, and at short notice we will actually commence construction and offer to St. Lucians even greater and improved services at the OKEO. So, Mr. Chairman, I still prefer calling you CAPSEC, but but I want to make available to you the donation of $400,000 US to commence the process. I think the Minister of Health and myself, we're really delighted to start you off with this donation, and of course to say to you, all of St. Lucia is willing you on to succeed in your new task. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Minister, for this presentation. Let me also express my gratitude to the Minister of Health and the Cabinet of Ministers and the Prime Minister for their gracious consideration of the appointment as chairperson of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex Board. Of course, as was indicated, there is no doubt in my mind that the challenges of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex and OKEU in particular remain something of major priority to the government and to all St. Lucians. So in accepting the responsibility as chairman, I look forward to working with the board. I look forward also to working with the minister, as well as the cabinet of ministers with whom the board by statute also has a relationship. And we commit to do all within our power to ensure that the institutions under the control and operation of the board fulfill and meet their objectives. Of course, today is a wonderful day for me from the standpoint that upon the announcement of the appointment, I am receiving graciously and happily a check for $400,000 US towards the construction of the fifth wing of the OKEU hospital. I guess in a sense it's mixed feelings. Your first task being to receive monies, I think that's good, but you also understand that there will be an expectation of delivery, and given the urgency of that particular undertaking and the importance of the construction of that fifth wing to ensure that OKEU can deliver the services required by St. Lucians and, of course, users of the institution, will put additional urgent responsibility on the board. So on behalf of the board, I accept graciously, Minister, the contribution as well as the task and challenge of doing what is within our powers to ensure that the Millennium Heights Medical Complex can continue to contribute to high quality of health care that's affordable and that meets the expectation of our citizens in St. Lucia. So with this, I thank you very much, and I look forward to ensuring that we can keep the public informed, involved in this initiative, but more importantly, in the operation and management of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex, which I know is of primary importance and of primary interest to the public. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Any questions?
You're on your own minister.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Sorry to
Yes,
take you
I'll
from
take
your
a few.
Yeah,
We
just
have,
it's
the
unrelated
cabinet,
to that, but there are. First, I wanted to find out an update on the cancer registry and where we are with that. I know last year you had announced how is the data collection going and the information, is it being put to use?
Yes, well, tomorrow, as you know, is World Cancer Day,
Yeah.
and we continue to work to establish the cancer registry. We started work from the CMO's, the Chief Medical Officer's office, and hopefully this year we will get the budget to actually employ the officers who will form the backbone, so to speak, of the cancer registry. The data collection is very important, and while we do have units that do data collection, it is best practice to have a cancer registry. We are very concerned. We are very concerned about the situation with cancer. We are just as concerned as the other jurisdictions in the Caribbean. And if you read the literature in the world, cancer is certainly a very important concern for us in St. Lucia, and we continue to hope that the messages, the education, the awareness, the opportunities for treatment, that we continue to expand those opportunities, and especially early diagnosis, which is where we really want to expand services. This is an area for the expansion of services. We've started with cervical cancer diagnosis, the expansion of that. We've also expanded prostate cancer diagnosis, and very soon we will announce expanded services in breast cancer diagnosis, and so on. So it is a very serious problem, and we are hoping that the cancer registry, the establishment of the registry will assist greatly.
So it hasn't been fully established as yet?
No, we are still preparing for the establishment of it. The research has been done. All of the preparation is done, but this year, hopefully, we are going to get the full financing for it.
Okay. Recently, there was a cruise ship that was denied entry because I guess yellow fever, the vaccination. I think some people had not been immunized. Would you be able to just give us an update on that? What happened there?
Well, these procedures take place from time to time, because we have certain health protocols that must be followed, not only in that particular case, but in every case. The port health and port surveillance continue to be very important. That was strengthened after our COVID-19 experience. And while we do not speak about specific situations, this is something which kicks in whenever we suspect there's a problem, and when we suspect there's a problem, and when we know that the protocols, the full protocols, are not followed in various cases. So there is no one specific methodology for which targets a particular airplane or a particular ship. There are certain protocols, not only in St. Lucia, but in the rest of the Caribbean, that must be followed.
Also, we have an issue. Some patients, that would be dialysis patients, some of them who are being dialyzed at private units. There are complaints. I imagine that it has reached the ministry, that they're not able to get, there's a specific medication, I think some others as well, erythropoietin. I don't know if I'm saying the word well, right, but critical medication for people who are being dialyzed and those who are suffering of late stage kidney disease. What is happening is that the pharmacists at the public health facilities are not dispensing that drug because because of the prescription being on as I say, it's a private prescription, so they're not giving it to them. What is your ministry's response to that? I know the SLMDA has written to the ministry before about this, but the issue is still there. So what's happening?
Well, I know there are some challenges with that. I know a number of individuals have approached the ministry, and what I know is that the ministry is working with the private sector to ensure that individuals get medication. We are also trying to ensure that both systems, whether it is private or public, that we cause there to be a marriage of the service delivery, and that is why in our new services we have service level agreements with the private sector, and that is the way we are going. We have done it with the cervical cancer screening, we've done it with the prostate cancer diagnosis, and we've done it in other areas. So that is the way the ministry is going to have service level agreements, contractual arrangements with the private sector. So I'm hoping that this method will solve these problems. So we have started, and we are hoping that our discussions will take us to a point where we will have service level agreements with the private sector to deal with some of these issues.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Cabinet considered a memorandum dated 13th January 2025, submitted by the Department of Education, Innovation, Science, Technology and Vocational Training, and has approved the award of the St. Lucia Island Scholarship 2024 to Miss Maxime Avril and Miss Viana Flavius. In other news, Cabinet has approved the creation of the Sovereign Wealth Fund of St. Lucia, and this is a forward-thinking public investments fund designed not only to secure sustainable economic development, but also to bolster our climate resilience. And here are some characteristics of the fund. The Sovereign Wealth Fund's objectives shall be to support investments in climate adaptation and mitigation, in addition to sustainable economic development. The Sovereign Wealth Fund will be a public fund managed by a board which shall be a corporate body. The board shall devise investment guidelines that bind the performance of the investment manager, and that these guidelines should prioritize the following principles. A, that a high return target be the primary motivator to the prior attainment of set thresholds. B, that thresholds to trigger non-investment withdrawals be defined, with these triggers being tied to portfolio size relative to GDP. C, that the fund be invested according to the environmental, social, and governance ESG principles. D. The derivatives and similar instruments be used only for hedging purposes. And 4. That the resources of the fund shall consist of such funds as may be allocated by the minister to the fund on its commencement. As the government establishes this vehicle for national development, it is crucial to recognize the transformative power of savings. This fund sets an example for St. Lucians to save and invest in the future. And I would be happy to provide more information on the Sovereign Wealth Fund. What you can do if you have any questions, just send me an email.
Yes, can I go ahead? Of course, let me share with you the experience yesterday in Castries office in terms of the battle relay. I wish to state that it was very successful. Castries office is a very large constituency, and of course, we wanted to spend more time in the community and of course cover some other places that we've not, but next time we will. But the experience was electrifying. Persons still love to carry the baton. Of course, it means a lot to some people, especially senior persons who can now relate to independence in a way that they've not had in the past. We have had quite a number of views on social media. A number of persons have been watching it. In particular, like the experience that my grandson participated in Forest Year to hand over the baton to the principal of the Methodist School. I think that was a highlight for me and a great experience that will forever remain in my heart as it relates to independence in St. Lucia. So I would like to commend the staff of the council in Castries office, as well as Honorable Richard Frederick Ministry and the PS, and all those persons who made it possible, and to have that experience in Castries office in the way that we did. We will continue to support every independent experience as it relates to the battle relay, and of course we'll be very innovative next time as we continue to celebrate, and I hope all of you here get an opportunity to participate in holding and putting your hands around that battle. It feels something very, very special to experience. Thank you.
Okay, so for the Minister for Education, Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science, Technology and Vocational Training, Honorable Sean Edward, will address us now.
No, I know the answer.
Do you have questions for me?
Always.
A lot of things. I don't have a statement, seriously. But I know there are a few things that have happened that you probably have an interest in. We recently held our Awards of Excellence ceremony at the Cultural Center, and of course there was a very disturbing occurrence in Choiseul involving a school child. So
You could start with
pick your topic.
Will the school be providing any psychosocial support to the students, child, whatever?
Okay,
anything?
let me start off by saying that I was alerted to an incident in Choiseul on the weekend where a family was allegedly assaulted by an individual and several members were injured. And amongst the injured, we had a 5-year-old student from the Delse Combined School who got injured during that particular altercation. And it is something that is very concerning to me as the Minister for Education. It's also concerning to the Prime Minister when I spoke with him on the weekend about the incident. The student is 5-year-old Bradley Labadie, who was, as I indicated, a student of the Delse Combined School. Bradley sustained injuries to his right arm. I got word of the incident on Saturday morning, and I immediately proceeded to the St. Jude Hospital where I visited the child. I must say he was in very good spirits when I saw him. His mother was there with him at his bedside. I made conversation with him. I gave him a toy, and as I said, he was doing fairly well given the circumstances. Let me say that this is something that the Ministry of Education emphatically denounces, and we condemn any act of violence in this country, particularly when it is perpetrated against children of that age. And I hope that law enforcement personnel will deal with the culprit and bring him to justice at the soonest. What happened in Choiseul, and particularly to the child, is totally outrageous. It is evil, it is disgraceful, and the Ministry of Education will not stand and remain silent on such an issue. So we have, through the Office of the Chief Education Officer, Dr. Pauline Antoine Prosper, who is also the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, who is from the Choiseul community, along with District Education Officer K. Clark Nicholas, as well as the principal of the Delta Combine. They have all been reaching out to the family to provide as much support as possible. But more specifically, Mrs. Joycelyn Eugene, who heads our counseling services unit in the Ministry of Education, she has been able to mobilize her staff to ensure that we provide the requisite psychosocial support, not just to the injured child, but the entire school population at Delse and whoever else in the community might be needing that kind of intervention.
Do you know the extent of his injuries? If you could share.
Well, from what I was told, I don't want to make any pronouncements that are of a clinical nature, but I was told that his right arm is where he sustained injuries. The extent of the injury, I don't want to pronounce on that. I think it would be better for healthcare professionals to do so.
And one of your constituents, Timikwa Diterville, she did well on the regional stage. Your thoughts on her achievements?
Yes, I think I would have indicated via a social media post that we in the Mabuya Valley, Dene Riviere more specifically where she's from, I'm from Dene Riviere as well, we're extremely proud, and I'm sure all of St. Lucia is extremely proud of Timikwa Diterville for the manner in which she represented our country at the OECS pageant. I must tell you, the opinions are very, very strong on the ground in terms of how the results could have gone. But that notwithstanding, we're extremely proud of Timikwa. I think she did very, very well. She represented us admirably. And I'm hoping that her exploits in the realm of pageantry, not just regionally but locally, will positively impact the young people in our community, particularly the young ladies.
Any updates on the Spartan University saga?
I have no update to that. Okay, we have had some issues with Spartan. They have struggled with accreditation. The Ministry of Education is not responsible for accrediting medical offshore schools and the programs that they provide. But we work with them. It is CAMHP. CAMHP is a body that provides accreditation for regional healthcare institutions that teach medicine, that train doctors. But there's some regulations and there's some expectations that we have of them on the domestic front. And since COVID, a lot of the offshore medical schools that relied so heavily on the influx of students from overseas for their own survival, since COVID, they've been struggling. And in a few instances, they've not been able to meet their obligations to the students. But we understand that for a lot of them, they would have been very viable business partners, so to speak, providing a service, contributing to the economic development of certain parts of the country and St. Lucia as a whole. And before we could have resorted to bringing in the police and punitive measures against them, we wanted to work with them, put mechanisms in place to help them deal with some of the challenges that they would have faced and some of them are still facing. But that does not mean any way trying to condone some of the things that some of the students have had to go through in recent times. So I'm very confident, I'm very optimistic that sooner we will be in a situation where some of the students who have been aggrieved will be receiving some form of compensation for what they've had to suffer at the hands of some of the offshore medical schools.
So did you guys actually meet with the students, or was this based on the letter?
We have met with some of the students. We have met with representatives of the schools. And even in the absence of the formal meetings that we have had, the conversation is ongoing. And I can tell you the acting deputy permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, Ms. Alfia Emmanuel, is leading the charge for the Ministry of Education in that regard.
Yes, Mr. Minister, we know that just recently you spoke about the schools zone out the TVET and What is the latest update regarding TVET? Are we seeing more interested, more more keen participation in the TVET area?
Yes, I think the TVET program in the Ministry of Education is arguably the flagship program in education for the time being. You would have heard me on several occasions before speak to the transformation of 4 traditional secondary schools to TVET institutes. The former Grand River Secondary School, the former John Odlum Memorial Secondary School, the former PI Secondary School, and the former Angers Secondary Schools. Those have been repurposed to full-fledged TVET institutes where students enroll with a view to acquiring certain skills that would make them ready for the world of work upon graduation. We are looking to broaden the curriculum. It is still work in progress, but I'm very satisfied with what is coming out. The initial first steps that we've made are proving to be very rewarding, and I can see the numbers increasing at those institutions. What you must also take into consideration is the fact that there are 2 entry levels. A child can, after sitting the CPEA, formerly Common Entrance Exam, the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, can venture into one of the TVET schools in Form 1. A child can choose to go to a traditional secondary school, and maybe after consultation with the teachers, the parents, a decision can be made at the family level that they will want that child to transition to one of the certain institutes at the Form 3 level. So it is work in progress. I must thank the Honourable Prime Minister and the Ministry of Finance for having made the resources available for those institutions to thrive, and so far I'm extremely pleased with the rollout. And I can only see this thing growing from strength to strength in the ensuing academic years.
Yeah, and just we know the building construction field is one that
yes,
attracts a lot of employment. Now we once had the building tech at the mall. I don't know what became of the building tech, but would the building technology and even civil engineering, we have roads, we have bridges, would that kind of area fit into this whole TVET?
Well, the TVET program emanates from the labor survey, market surveys that we would have done, where you basically having a snapshot of your workforce and to see what skills deficits exist in the workforce. And the TVET programming is supposed to take care of those gaps, those deficiencies in the workforce. So we're not just teaching certain subjects or putting certain programs on the curriculum because they are fashionable. But more importantly, the programs that we roll out at those institutions and in education generally are programs that are geared towards addressing some of the shortages we have in country. You spoke specifically about construction engineering. Yes, there's a construction component, but it's at a very basic level. And don't forget that with our TVET schools, the students are CVQ certified, is Caribbean Vocational Qualification, which speaks to a certain degree of competency in any given field or subject area. The advantage of having this piece of qualification is that quite apart from saying to an employer locally, look, I have attained a certain level of skills in a particular area, the CVQ also exempts a graduate of one of our TVET institutes from needing a work permit if they were to take up employment in any CARICOM member state. So this is an added advantage. But as I said, we only now starting in our first year with the TVET program. We are looking to broaden our horizon in terms of the subjects we offer. We want to venture into maritime, boat building, and things that have relevance, CMOS production. We're talking about things that can gainfully employ our students. And I would have made the point previously that we want for there to be less of a reliance on the public service for employment, so that when this child graduates from a TVET institute, this child has the skills to be able to set up a small business, of course capitalizing on the opportunities that exist at the Youth Economy Agency and things of that sort. So there's a potential for you to employ yourself, to be self-employed, and to also create employment for your peers. And that is where we want our country to grow. A small island developing state like St. Lucia cannot do well only with the performance of government. The role of the private sector is indispensable when we speak of economic growth and expanding our fortunes as a small island developing state.
The government of St. Lucia is closely monitoring the recent policy shifts by the United States government, particularly as they regard to the imposition of tariffs and the changes to immigration policy. In this regard, considering the fact that these changes may have an effect, a social and economic effect on St. Lucia, the Cabinet of Ministers has formed a task force to deal with the ramifications and the possible implications of a change in both of these policies, namely the imposition of tariffs by the US and the threat of the deportation of non-nationals of the US. The task force, as far as tariffs are concerned, is led by the Honorable Emma Hippolyte, is from the Ministry of Commerce, and the task force on immigration, or better yet, possible deportation, is led by the Honorable Jeremiah Norbert. And this shows basically how what happens out of St. Lucia, away from St. Lucia, has an impact on St. Lucia. We a very small economy, a small society, and the imposition of tariffs, what we are very concerned about is the impact they have on inflation, on the cost of goods and services in St. Lucia, particularly food. But as you know, we import many of our food and other goods from the US. So this is why we are creating that special task force to look at the implications. And I hope that all the people involved in the importation of goods or work with that task force to see what we can do to mitigate against the effects of the tariffs as they are proposed to be done by the US starting from tomorrow. As regards the decision by the US to stop foreign aid, there are a few programs that St. Lucia has, a few US-funded programs, such as the Violence Interruption Program sponsored by USAID, the CREP, which is the Community Reintegration Program for the inmates of Bordelais, and the OASIS program. They are now on hold because they're waiting for the final word from the US. But the government will do everything within its power to safeguard these programs and to safeguard the well-being of the people of St. Lucia. That's it.
Any questions? Yes. For second vision?
Could we, there is a problem where our viewers say they can't see the people in the press who's asking the questions. So it looks as if I'm speaking to myself. I'm answering my own questions. Our viewers complain about it. Why don't you want the viewers to see you?
No, I said, do they have?
I think you should have a next camera.
Yes, so want to get
another camera because it sounds as if I'm speaking to myself.
But it's not.
They had a question.
I'm not one. Don't shoot the messenger.
Okay, well, maybe next person.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, regards food export, food production, we know it has been a big issue, not just for St. Lucia, but for the regional, for CARICOM as well. And last year we heard the president of Guyana making some proposals in terms of food production. I'm saying, bearing in mind the situation now with the tariffs, a lot of the foods that we import.
In fact,
do you think there is an urgent need for CARICOM now to provide?
And I don't want to sound reproachful, but remember some time ago in my first year of office when I spoke about using our bananas and how I was ridiculed by the opposition, and when I spoke about people trying to use to consume what they grow, and I put a pun on it. I said, eat what you grow and watch what you eat and eat what you watch. How that was ridiculed. It was because of the lack of foresight in the opposition, for their desire to play politics with everything. When I spoke about cassavas, when I spoke about the cassava industry, again I was ridiculed. It has all come to the forefront of the necessity for food security. And what better food security that we can have than beginning to grow, to eat what we grow in St. Lucia. So again, we are emphasizing that situation means that now we must look inward to see if we can try to grow as much as possible, and that is why the government, through the UBEC program, has given water tanks to farmers, has given inputs to farmers so they can grow more crops. Because more than ever, we need now to get serious about our food security. And next week, I think they may be here already. We've got 2 greenhouses from the government of Guyana, greenhouses which we will establish as at Union. If you look in the last year's budget, you'll see some money in there for youth involvement in agriculture. These greenhouses are going to be set up, and we got some young people to begin to experiment to modernize their agricultural practices.
Yeah, just one quickly. We see that the Ministry of Commerce as a first in businesses now, in manufacturing. Would that be an added incentive for manufacturers now to be able
all part of it for agro-processing, yes, converting our fruit into juice, etc. And the youth economy is doing very well in that regard. Young people getting involved in it. Now more than ever, it shows the importance of having local produce and local goods for our consumption.
Prime Minister, in your opening statement, you did mention about a task force. What do you hope this task force will do and assure St. Lucians of the high price? I cannot
assure anything. The United States policy is not dictated by St. Lucia. The United States policy is dictated by the United States. When they decide on the policy, we have to find ways and means of mitigating the effects. So assurance is not possible. What's possible is the government will do whatever the government can do within its powers to lessen the effects of American policy on St. Lucia. We are friends of the US, and I'm sure at CARICOM, I'm sure the prime ministers of the region will make a statement as far as that is regarded. To give you assurance is because we're not even sure of what the American policy will be tomorrow.
But what are you prepared to do now in terms of, first off, the deportees, we know that, have you gotten any word from, the State Department and how many? Because I know there was a thing going around, everyone was worried.
Yes, there's a lot of
people are also looking at, employment for these people, even where do they live? Because sometimes, not necessarily they can go have a home.
Yes,
so.
There's, as expected, there's a lot of panic with that, and we understand that. But I don't want to speculate. Nor must I spread panic. What I'm saying is that we've got no official notification yet. What we know is there are a few people, I think 8, who are ready for deportation to St. Lucia long before what's happening now. These people are going to be coming back. As to the rest, we've got no official advice yet from the US government in terms of there is a list, that list is being verified and being looked at. But in terms of they're saying to us that we have X amount of people coming, we've got nothing of this nature. And I want to implore the press, listen to advice on the Ministry of External Affairs. Lots of rumors about get your advice and from the Ministry of External Affairs.
Are these 8 just there illegally, or is it also that they committed crimes?
Well, I think they were there for deportation for a number of reasons. Long before what's happening.
No, I'm asking you,
well, I think it's a mixture.
Crimes?
Once they're for coming back, most likely they'll be convicted in the U.S. Most likely.
Okay.
Most
Right.
likely, yes.
And right, there was this stick out at the Hiroshima International Airport on Saturday. It affected a lot of the flights there. We wanted to get a statement from you, comment from you on that.
Well, as far as I know that operations are back to normal. I understand 400 passengers who were affected, but the information that has come to me is that things are back to normal at the Hiroshima International Airport.
IATA's vice president is actually gave some advice to the civil
I'm not
authority.
sure if that was.
Is that
I'm not sure if that
legit?
was from IATA. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Because I would have found that very strange. And Doc got me wrong. I would have found that very strange that a minuscule airport, in terms of the whole situation, would have been instantly in an hour the IATA vice president was on a
Yeah.
I found that very
I wanted
strange.
confirmation if you all had received any
Yeah.
such.
No, I've got nothing official now.
From
What I
them.
saw is and I want to warn you about AI. Yeah, and that is the problem. But I'm not sure. I'm not saying it is. But the Prime Minister got no official notification from IATA of any of this. That's as far as I'm concerned.
But outside of that, is it something legitimate in terms of the concern that having this sole, I guess, ground handler operating, and we see the situation it causes, it is something that we should have alternative measures or something in place?
It's I don't think that the government has created that situation. I think SASPA tenders for these services and somebody won. As to if SASPA will return at some point, I think we have to look at the terms of employment, the terms of the contract. But if I think that these services are tendered and somebody wins them.
Has it been shared with you the reasons for possible,
No, I understand it's been for a wage dispute, which ought to have been settled, but I'm not sure where the workers or where it was settled. I'm not sure. But we're very happy to know that things are back to normal at the airport because we have a very robust tourism industry. The planes actually come in very full. The planes are landing very, very full. In fact, it's probably one of the best times in St. Lucia's history for arrivals on the airport. St. Lucia's never done that well in its history as far as tourism arrivals are concerned, and you can go see for yourself at the airport. The planes are very full. In fact, there was almost panic in the hotels this weekend because there was no room. The hotels are panicking because they weren't sure whether they would have place for any visitors who got stranded in St. Lucia. The tourism industry is doing very well. The planes are coming almost at full capacity, and the hotels are they're experiencing some very high occupancy. In fact, there were some people who came here on a mission, and they had to live at another hotel or another guest house, because they could not find a room in the hotel in St. Lucia. We're very pleased with it. Our tourism is doing very, very well.
I think the week before, at the launch of the Year of Engagement at the Millennium Heights Medical Complex Year of Engagement, it was said that last week, I think the cabinet would have discussed revealed the new board for
Yes,
OKEU.
this cabinet will do that in a while.
We'll do it. Okay. And also, would you be able to provide an update on the Linquist investigation
No, I
that was
can't
commissioned 2 years ago?
Can't at this point.
Nothing as yet?
I can't at this point. There's not been anything new for me to report.
Has it been completed?
I can't at this point. I don't know.
You had said also that he would have helped investigate other, allegations.
When he does,
anything
I will
else?
surely tell you.
So nothing right now.
I have nothing new on that at the moment. No.
It's been 2 years.
I have nothing new. I have nothing new on that at the
You've
moment.
asked you the
Nothing
same
new on
question
that.
before. Next question, please.
It's part of journalism.
Next question.
Prime Minister, how is progress coming for our budget? And I know you are concerned with what's happening with the US. And
Sure, and that's very important, because what's happening in the US may have some implications on us. But we had a very good year in terms of the fiscal performance of the government. I'm very proud. You know, we are at our lowest unemployment in decades. In fact, I think from since figures have been calculated, we've never our unemployment has never been so low. But I think we've been running some surpluses. Our revenue performed very, very well, and then you will be very happy when you see the results of our fiscal situation. And you can see for yourself. You can see what's happening in the country. There are some downside risks, but generally the economy is performing very well. We are expecting growth, and we are in a situation where our revenue performed satisfactory. We are meeting our debt obligations. We have completed negotiations with the TUF, and we're going to make an announcement very soon as to when civil servants should expect their back pay and their salary increase. I can assure you they're going to get it before independence. Civil servants will be having their back pay and their pay increase before independence. And generally, we are comfortable with our situation, but there are downside risks which we have to deal with, but generally we're very comfortable with the situation.
On that note, with the civil servants, we are hearing about the police have some concerns.
Negotiations with the police and GNT are continuing.
And the fire service and the prison?
The fire service have completed the negotiations.
Negotiations with the NWU and police.
These are ongoing also.
Are you satisfied with the way it's going? Because
the GNT deals with negotiations.
But they say they're going to report to you.
When the GNT reports to me, then I will tell you. They have not. What I know is they've settled with the public servants for 6 years at 30% increase, and the back pay to be paid before independence. That's what I know for a fact.
I know we're always talking about crime and finance. We have seen a lull in the shooting, but one of the biggest concerns now is domestic violence. Recently, they had some chopping in Choiseul, and it has been around. Are there something we see that I know concerned about? And what's up?
Very concerned about domestic violence. Very concerned, but it comes back to our need for conflict resolution, for our need to temper the anger that is being generated in this country. Our need for us to temper the anger, for bring down the rhetoric, time for us to speak the truth. Time for us to understand that there are things that we have little control over. Generally, that anger, that call for anger, and that call to get vexed, and that call to get annoyed, that call to be angry, manifests itself in many different ways. That's why we should always try, in the words we say, particularly as leaders, for us to understand that when we say things, our words have implications, sometimes unforeseen implications. A call for general call for anger, a call for general call for annoyance in the country has some effect on what's happening at our homes. Okay, the Minister of Education. Oh yes. Oh, thank you. I really want to congratulate Yogi Joan de Turville. He won a Grammy last night, and he's from Ansory. He's a native of Ansory. His mother was a late Petronia de Turville. She was that was her thing. She was involved in the arts, involved in music, and I'm sure where she's resting now, she's very, very happy. So I want to congratulate him, Yogi, for his award. I also want to congratulate our 100-meter sprint star who won a 300-meter race yesterday, Julian Alfred. It shows her versatility. She's won the 100 meters, 200, and now the 300. again, we're very proud of her. And St. Lucia is really in a good place these days, in a very good place. Very happy for the performance of our young people. And we have two island scholarships, which the Press Secretary will announce. And at the award ceremony on Thursday, the number of young people who did very well at exams, particularly those from Vieux-Fort. You may know a lot about Vieux-Fort. The Vieux-Fort Secondary School performed the best in terms of results. The Vieux-Fort Secondary School. So our young people are doing very, very well. I want to encourage them.
One final question from me, Minister. We have just recently heard that the opposition leader has claimed that the government will be imposing tax on the hotel sector. Is there any truth in that?
I have no information on that.
You believe he's up to mischief as well?
I have no information on neither what he's up to.
What about any taxes?
In the budget, I can tell you that in this budget, there will be no new taxes.
Are you satisfied with Independence celebration so far?
Yes. So we've been going along. This it always ends in the last, for the 22nd, going forward. The last week, there's many things happen. This year is pretty diversified. The parade will be happening at the Minderfield Park. I'm sure Jerry will be happy. That's in his constituency. So all of us are going to be at the Minderfield Park for our parade, and there's also a business expo in the south of the country in Vieux-Fort. So it's pretty diversified, and I want to tell us, Solutions Independence is ours. It's a national situation. I mean, it's national. So I want to tell all of us to enjoy our independence. We have a lot to be proud of in St. Lucia. A lot to be proud of. I'm very happy to be the Prime Minister of St. Lucia at this time. I'm very happy. I want to thank the people of St. Lucia for their cooperation, for their trust, for the way the majority of people of St. Lucia have handled their affairs. You can see it every time. You can see the desire for people to do better. In fact, there's been an over-subscription both at the youth economy and at the Ministry of Commerce as far as business is concerned. There's an over-subscription. There's a shortage of building materials. People are building their homes. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of confidence in St. Lucia. I want it to continue.
No Independence holiday?
22nd of February.
It's a Saturday.
It's a holiday. Okay.
Final comment here. St. Lucia's first international gold record hit singer, songwriter, Malcolm Matthew Emmanuel passed away.
Yes, condolences, of course, for he was called Malcolm Locks McGarren. He was, again, very early started in the business of singing. He was a reggae singer. He performed very well. Again, part of our history that must be, I'm sure people like Rick Wayne would know him very well as far as his performance. Because Rick Wayne himself was also a singer. I don't know if many of you probably know him now as a journalist and a talk show host. He was a singer. He was a song called "In My Imagination." I can't sing it like him, but he was a singer, Rick Wayne, so.
Was a Rolling Stone?
Yeah, no, I say he was a singer. So he was, I'm sure Rick knows Malcolm very well. But when next you speak to him, tell him to give you a verse of "In My Imagination." Thank you very much. Have a good day.